Making a decision about where you would like to study as a country and as an institution is one of the decisions that is very important in a scholarship application journey, or even if you are self-funded. And often is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with. Today I'm going to start to break down some of the things that are worth thinking about when you're trying to make that particular decision. I am hoping that by the end of this video, I should have given you at least 3 points that you can start to consider. And these 3 points that I'm going to talk about today are going to look at the quality of the education and the reputation of the institution and the country. I'm going to look at research opportunities, the facilities of the institution and the country, and also life after you finish your studies. And then the last one, I'm going to look at the language of instruction. So let's start with the reputation of a country and institution. We are all going to agree that when it comes to education, there are certain countries that have built a very strong reputation over the years. They are usually countries that every time people are thinking of studying abroad, they are the countries that are going to come to mind. Countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Germany, and the Netherlands, just to mention a few. These are countries that have some of the top institutions in the world, and therefore it becomes normal for people to think of these countries when it comes to higher education. But what is it exactly about these countries that makes them to be a destination for most of the people that would like to do their studies? One of the first things is the reputation of the institutions in these countries. You are looking at institutions which, after going through a rigorous process of ranking, are ranked top in terms of the global rankings. These are countries that have institutions that are ranked number 1 overall or number 1 in certain disciplines. And this is where usually I encourage people to use a tool such as the QS ranking. If you use this particular tool, one of the things you're going to see is that it gives you information about some of the top ranking institutions in the world overall. But that is just the first point. For some of you, what is more important, which is actually more important for more people, is to understand whether the institution that you're going to choose is the top ranking in your discipline. And this is usually where there is a confusion, because there's an overall ranking of a university, and then there's a ranking in terms of the program. And these two are different. Now, getting to the element of the ranking of a program, there are certain universities that might be ranked number 1 in a particular discipline, but they don't have the overall ranking as in top 10. A very good example I can give is the University of Sussex, which has been ranked number 1 in terms of development studies overall. But if you look at the overall ranking of the University of Sussex as an institution, you're going to see that it's not even in the top 10. The second thing that I said I was going to talk about has to do with research opportunities, facilities, and also life after you finish your studies. When you're making a decision about which country you'd like to pick for your studies, these are some of the things that are worth considering if you're not already considering them. The very first thing when it comes to facilities, you are going to study a particular program. What are some of the facilities that you are going to need that will help you to do your studies better? And I'll give an example of machine learning or artificial intelligence. If you're going to be doing complex computer work that will require a high power in terms of computing power, you're obviously going to pick institutions that have those capabilities. So these are some of the things that are worth thinking about. Take some time, think about exactly what you want to study, what degree program you want to get into, what exactly are the facilities that you're going to require, and where are those facilities found. Because that is going to help you make a very informed decision about where you would like to study. Another thing is opportunities. There may be some of you that are thinking of applying for grants or doing some sort of research. And for that to happen, you're going to need some financial injection most of the times. There are certain countries and certain institutions where grants are readily available as compared to others. So when you're now also thinking about where you'd like to do your studies for a master's or for your PhD, it is very important to have an understanding about which countries or which institutions have grants or have the possibility of getting a grant to help you do your study in that particular field. It is also important for you to check what happens after people graduate from these institutions, which is the element of employability. Let's be honest. For most of us, we are doing a master's or we're doing a PhD because we are hoping that we are going to get a better paying job afterwards. There is a job that we are currently doing and we are thinking that we are not being paid enough. And we are thinking that if we go and do further studies and then we come back, we are obviously get that promotion we have been looking forward to, or we're going to get that pay increase that we've been looking forward to. And therefore, it is also important to be able to see, in terms of institutions and countries, which countries and institutions are helping in producing graduates that don't stay on the job market for a long time. If you go to the QS ranking again, one of the things you're going to see is that there are institutions that have been ranked based on employability. And there are some that are ranked high and there are some that are ranked low. It is your job as you are thinking about an academic institution to get into, to look into some of these things. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is language of instruction. When you are thinking about where you'd like to do your studies, it is also very important that you think about the language of instruction that is going to be used in that particular country. Understanding the language of instruction is going to be very useful for you. And I'll give an example. It is very important to understand something, that there are certain countries where their language of communication might be different, but their language of instruction in terms of academic studies is going to be English or it's going to be French. And it is therefore important that you look at yourself. Which languages are you competent with? And which countries do you think are going to work better for you? I also do understand that some of us want to take the challenge of learning a new language, and therefore we're going to pick a particular country where the language of instruction is completely new. I do get that. But when you're making that decision, you have to be very honest with yourself. Look at the capabilities, look at the interests that you have, and be able to have an alignment when it comes to that. The other thing also when you're thinking about the language of instruction is to be realistic about the time frame. If you're thinking of learning a new language and you have a degree program, a master's in that particular, that is offered for about 9 months, how many months really do you have to be able to learn a new language and then to be able to absorb the academic material, to be able to pass and then to graduate? 9 months is such a very short time. Get me right here, I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying the time is too short, which means there's going to be a lot of demand from you. So these are some of the things that I would like people to start thinking about when you're looking at the country that you'd like to study and then also the institutions that you are picking. There is a lot more that I'm going to talk about, but in this video, I'm just going to look at these particular 3 bits, and in the following videos, I'll cover the other remaining bits as well. Thank you.